let's look more specifically at objectives. Round Rock ISD requires that every annual goal has at least 2 objectives. Objectives describe the steps a student will take to make progress from the current performance level of a skill identified in the PLAF to the expected mastery criteria stated in the annual goal. The objectives serve as a gauge to monitor a student's progress and determine if the student is making sufficient progress throughout the year toward the annual goal. This is helpful to make sure that the student's plan laid out in the IEP is effective. There are several types of objectives. Progressive objectives, split skills objectives, and benchmark objectives are some examples. Objectives monitor the skills that must be learned or improved throughout the year in order for the student to master the annual goal. Our first example is where the student starts at one level of a skill and builds on that same skill throughout the IEP. We call this a progressive objective. Here, the annual goal is for the student to be able to perform 3-digit by 3-digit addition problems with regrouping. Currently, the student is just starting 2-digit addition problems, so they must progress through the skill of 2-digit problems without and with regrouping, and then master 3-digit without regrouping prior to mastering 3-digit with regrouping. A second example, called split skills, is where there are multiple skills in the annual goal and each objective monitors a separate skill. In this example, the annual goal is for the student to capitalize the first letter and include ending punctuation for each sentence. The first objective monitors capitalizing the first letter of each sentence throughout the IEP year, and the second objective monitors including ending punctuation for each sentence throughout the IEP year. The third type is to benchmark the mastery criteria. When using the benchmark method, the skill that is focused on in the annual goal and the objectives are the same. It is the time frame and the mastery criteria that will be different throughout the year. In other words, the skill and frequency will be increased or decreased throughout the IEP year. Think about benchmarks like milestones the student reaches throughout the school year. In this example, the skill focused on is decreasing the amount of time that it takes a student to begin an assignment and increasing the amount of time the student stays on task. This method could also be used in instances of increasing reading fluency or math facts, or decreasing punctuation errors or calculation errors. Because each student will have different skill gaps and are working on different levels, our goals and objectives should be just as individualized as our students.